Yo. What is up, grinders? It's Chief. It's TJ. It is the pre-lock show for Sunday Night Football with Showdown. And folks, listen, we're coming in. I'm not sure how hot TJ's been today. I've been hot today. We didn't talk about it pre-show this time, but man, if I had a good stretch, TJ, from Friday through today, it's been, oh buddy, it's been a real. Let me say this: I'm so glad it's December and Christmas is right around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And they said Papa's got a brand new bag. Mama may have to get a brand new bag. My wife, that is. So glad to come on and talk with all of you guys, and hopefully, TJ, we can help some folks get some lineups, not just across the cash line, but let's see if we can get them a GPP winning script, a GPP winning performance. What say ye, my friend?
Let's do it. I'm in. I'm ready to dive into it with you. I'm happy that you got that nice little hot streak. I felt like we were both putting out some good info these last month, 2 months, and then I had mine. It's your time now to have yours. I had a poor main slate for football, but I did really, really well on prize picks today. I had a couple 25Xs, a couple 10Xs, so a nice prize picks day. Not so much on DraftKings, but ready to carry it into the night slate tonight.
Yeah, for sure. Listen, man, I'll just put it to you like this. I've had a great weekend in terms of just across all the streets. Started Friday night, got a nice little 25X for NBA. Yesterday, not one, not two, 3 25Xs on prices. Not to include a few double ups along the way. And then today, TJ got a 40X on hot streak. And then 2 27Xs roughly on DraftKings pick 6. Some double ups on prize pick. It's listen, you start kind of rolling here and suddenly the flywheel gets going. And so hopefully, TJ, we can help people get to kind of that level with Showdown, because we've been doing the same thing with Showdown, TJ, week to week to week. And we're going to come out hot, TJ. I know I'm seeming really chill today. I know I'm seeming really chill. But what I want to do, I want to come out hot here. And we're just going to start right at the top. Does TJ have an off-the-board captain that he wants to get involved with? We're just going to start out right with the spice. We're going to hit him right in the mouth, TJ. We're not holding back the secret ingredients. Sometimes you go to a restaurant, you buy some wings, and the heat sneaks up on you because they hide it in a barbecue sauce. They hide it in a sweet chili sauce. They hide it in a teriyaki sauce, right? They hide it in a Korean barbecue. They hide the heat, TJ. And you take a bite, you're like, oh, this is flavorful. And then you're like, because it's stuck up on you. We're not sneaking up on them today. Let's give them the heat right out of the gate. And now we're getting cranked up, folks. We came in mellow, and we're going to ratchet it up and ratchet it up and ratchet it up. What's the spice for tonight's Showdown? At the captain, we're starting right out. What do we got, TJ?
So I wish after that amazing intro, I had some kind of really a hot take at the captain position today, but I don't.
Nelson Aguilar. Yes.
No Nelson Aguilar at the captain for me today. Not today. And here's why. Because on this slate, I don't really feel like there's a ton of expensive guys I want to spend up on. I can play Lamar Jackson at captain. I could maybe play Lamar Jackson at captain in 150 lineups and feel good about my exposure to all the skill players in this game, because there's really not that many guys priced up to get to. And so I'm only playing 5 lineups. And so with that, my only captains are 3 Lamar Jackson, 1 Trevor Lawrence, and 1 Keaton Mitchell. So Keaton Mitchell would be my spiciest captain play today.
Keaton Mitchell is where we're getting spicy, folks.
Keaton Mitchell's where we're getting a little spicy. Not too spicy, but just 8-ish%, right? That's still it's just a touch of spice.
Listen, I don't know how much you guys go to mainstream restaurants, okay? But there's a mainstream restaurant. Doug Harrelson says this is bad for the brand, TJ. But I think Keaton Mitchell is hot enough, right? I don't know how many of you go to Zaxby's. Zaxby's, we're calling on you. Come be a sponsor of the Pre-Lock Show, Sunday Night Football. We're calling on you, Zaxby's. If you go to Zaxby's, right, they've got a range of heat options. They've got wimpy and mild and like hot, scorching and flaming, or whatever it is. Those are like your options. I think this one's hot, TJ. We're not gonna call this one scorching. But I think that's hot enough, right? We got the heat right out of the gate. So Keaton Mitchell, folks, you heard it here. Maybe not first, but you hear it directly from the horse's mouth. Keaton Mitchell is where we're going to plug our spice in tonight at the Captain Teacher. Let me just say, you guys know I will discuss my my video from my video short there. I do think Lamar, I mean, I feel like every time we get Lamar on a slate, it's against a team that we just have to plug him in as kind of like the guy, right? So he's already like the main target for his team. But I feel like every slate, like I think we got them against the Chargers one night. Well, Keenan Allen was kind of the guy, but you know, they've got Herbert, they've got Eckler that you could also kind of fall in love with if you could tell yourself the right story for Showdown. Tonight, I don't like this Jaguar setup, TJ. I just don't like the setup of the Jaguars. But I did come to the conclusion that based on the pricing, TJ, that Zay Jones from Jacksonville feels like a guy that on the other side of Lamar Jackson, on the opposite team, obviously, a guy that I think we'll fall in love with. And here's why. When we break this pricing down, TJ, one of the things that stood out to me, Justin Tucker is 5,400 on this slate. Zay Jones is 5,600. So we're saying, hey, we want to spend $200 more for Zay Jones, but Zay Jones has immense more upside than Justin Tucker. Now, full disclosure, Justin Tucker could go out here and kick 3 40-yard field goals and 2 extra points and a 50, and he could just blow this out of the water. But I still don't think that's the most likely outcome, TJ, if I'm being honest here. I think the most likely outcome is Justin Tucker kicks maybe 2 field goals and a handful of extra points. Now, look, if he kicks 2 50s and 3 extra points, that's 13 fantasy points, and Zay Jones will still have to catch up. But in a vacuum, I think Zay Jones has more raw upside than Justin Tucker because of the ability for him to get in the end zone, catch passes, so forth and so on. That's kind of my guy tonight from Jacksonville that I feel like is appropriately or slightly underpriced for the situation. What do you think, TJ?
So I actually agree with you 100%. And we got somebody in chat saying Zay Jones captain. And look, I don't want to disappoint Doug, so I'm going to get a little spicier. And I did throw in a Zay Jones captain team just now. So I got 6 lineups now instead of 5. Got a Zay Jones captain. I'm all on Zay Jones's over receiving yards and over receptions today as well. The one thing that does scare me with Justin Tucker a little bit today, and him and Brandon McManus both, is we're going to see wind gusts upwards of like 40 miles per hour today. These guys are both guys with huge legs. Mm-hmm. On one hand, they could be only limited to like 2 quarters each where they're actually able to kick field goals, but on the other one, they might be able to kick 60-plus yarders on the rest of the time in those other 2 quarters. And so I do worry about like fading those guys and then seeing them have a ton of upside, but I agree. Zay Jones at that price, Keaton Mitchell at just a little bit more. I like them better.
Yeah, man. I get it. Let me ask you this question to you. Let's start at wide receiver tonight, okay? Because I feel like this is where the money will be made, in my opinion, TJ. Getting this position right. So I think we both like Zay Jones. How do you feel about Odell Beckham Jr.? Because we've seen, TJ, his production really pick up over the past few weeks. Now, you mentioned something I think is critical in terms of the win in this game. How will that affect, the passing game situations for those of you that have the blitz? If you look at the blitz and try to incorporate that into your process, you will notice, TJ, the blitz seems to be really low on the passing games for this one, and that might be because of that wind. It's not really any bad weather outside of that. So what are your thoughts about Odell Beckham? Because he's a guy that's kind of been popping a little bit past few weeks.
I like Odell a lot today. Jamal Agnew is out. Is he a scratch? I just seen this on lineup HQ right now. I had him in a few lineups. Let me look at this right now. I'm seeing him out on lineup HQ. He was somebody I liked because he was popping in the blitz projections a little bit. Where'd that O come from? Interesting. I'm thrown off now because it says Jamal Agnew is out on lineup HQ. And I don't see that anywhere. He's activated from injured reserve. Gonna leave him in here for now because I'm wondering if that's a lineup HQ error. Where that came from. Maybe we just got to refresh. Yeah, because he's good on my lineup HQ too.
Yeah,
so that must just be some kind of blip. Glad that we caught that. I'm going to keep him in there. What were we talking about? That threw me off. Sorry.
We were talking about Odell Beckham Jr. and his new increased involvement, seemingly, in the offense.
So I like Odell Beckham Jr. a lot today. The way I'm kind of personally feeling about this is that I think the wind, the weather, it's going to impact Jacksonville side of things a lot more than the Baltimore side of things. Baltimore, it's a lot of options. It's a lot of running, both for Lamar and the running backs. It's a lot of quick passes. It's a lot of screen passes, a lot of rollout passes. And so I don't think their offense is going to be affected all that much here. And so I'd not only want to go overweight on Odell Beckham Jr., but all of these pass catchers for Baltimore today. Beckham, Likely, Bateman, Flowers. I like all of them today.
Yeah, I'm with you. And the thing is, TJ, I think because we don't necessarily know maybe where the condensed production is going to come from with the receivers with Baltimore. It could be one of Beckham. It could be Zay Flowers. And I know I was laughing about this, and I'm not saying he's on the field like a crazy amount of time, but Nelson Aguilar could be running around and Lamar just kind of find him for a 30-yard touchdown. Like that's in the cards, you know.
Yeah.
Now he's not a primary. I do think Nelson Aguilar is a good secondary piece for what it's worth. He's not somebody I would be locking in, but I think he's cheap enough that you can add him. Let's hop over to the Jacksonville side because this is where we already know Christian Kirk won't be playing, which is why I love Zay Flowers so much. How do you feel about their big
Zay
gun?
Jones.
Zay Jones. I love Zay Jones. We got two Zays here. Flowers plays for Baltimore. Jones for the Jaguars. Don't want to confuse anyone. Thank you for the correction, TJ.
And I like them both.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about Calvin Ridley, who is the big gun for the Jaguars, at least on paper. Let me say that, at least on paper, he's the guy. Only 8,600. Once again, I think the weather is a part of this. I think his sporadic involvement with the offense is a part of this. TJ, I've seen Calvin Ridley line up and just run go routes for what feels like half of the game sometimes. No real, just running down the field, and then they're trying to throw him these jump balls. And it's like, can you get the man some real production? They seem to leave that for Evan Ingram and Christian Kirk, and Christian Kirk's not playing. So how are you feeling about Ridley in this type of game? The Baltimore defense, one of the best in the league, tops in the league, so how are you feeling about him? And then let's talk about the passing game overall and parlay that into some quarterback play with Trevor Lawrence. How are you feeling about Calvin Ridley passing game overall?
So that I'm underweight on this Jacksonville passing offense. I have one of my 6 lineups is a Jacksonville full passing offense stack. And then basically all the rest of my teams are Baltimore onslaughts. And so I'm finding myself picking one of 3 players, Zay Jones, Jamal Agnew, and Evan Ingram. And that's being the most of my Jacksonville exposure. And I am very underweight on Calvin Ridley today. He is probably the player that him and Trevor Lawrence, that combo, that's what I'm most afraid of being underweight on today. I'm hoping that's not just recency bias getting the best of me saying like, oh yeah, well, not only is there weather, but they looked terrible last week without Kirk and with Trevor Lawrence banged up. But that's just how I'm seeing this one going. And so I'm underweight on the Ridley and Trevor Lawrence connection, and it does worry me.
Yeah, absolutely. Once again, just in general, I just kind of don't like this game. I see Eric Johnson said, I love OBJ captain thoughts. I don't hate that at all. Like I that's probably an ultimate tournament captain tonight. I'm going to check our ownership, TJ, and it looks to me like our ownership on OBJ and the captain is only at 4%. I like that. I think that's a good proposition for, once again, a guy that's really been involved a whole lot recently. I said we're going to parlay our passing game play to talking about Trevor Lawrence. How I feel about this with Trevor Lawrence is he does have some rushing upside. I guess we'll figure out how far removed he is from that ankle injury that he sustained, TJ, because obviously I do think that held him back a little bit last week, and it may hold him back this week. Maybe that curtails some of his longer runs. And so I guess I'm being a little biased here. And when I say biased, I guess I'm not a full believer in the Jacksonville offense as a whole, as it stands right now. I just think Baltimore is a better team. Now, let me say this. If you've been listening to the Food for Thought podcast, you know that I consider the NFL a no-faith league. I don't have faith in anybody, TJ. Maybe right now outside of the San Francisco 49ers, I think anybody can get rolled. I think anybody can get beat. And so it's not out of the realm of possibility that Baltimore waltzes down there to Jacksonville and goes back to Baltimore with a big fat L. Like, that's not out of the question for me. But conceptually, I do think Baltimore is a better football team overall. I'm really not as high on this passing game, I think, as most. And I feel like I want to build, TJ, Baltimore 4-2 stacks, maybe even some 5-1s. I'm not kidding. I feel so much better about Baltimore than I do the Jaguars. In my mind, TJ, I don't hate Zay Flowers captain. I don't hate Odell Beckham captain. I feel like I have the lock button on Lamar tonight, right?
Yep.
Lock button on Lamar. And not necessarily in the captain. Doesn't have to be all captain, but I'm saying lock button on Lamar. And then I'm sprinkling in, and now I'm just talking, I'm sprinkling in Likely. I'm sprinkling in Tucker. I'm sprinkling in some Ravens defense. I hate defense, but I don't trust Jacksonville enough. I just see them have meltdown after meltdown, and that's against bad teams sometimes, TJ. Today, they're actually going to be facing a good defense. Now, they are at home, and I get it. But I'm just not thrilled about the Jacksonville offense, which means they're probably going to walk out here and score 40 points. I'm exaggerating, but I'm not thrilled about it. I think I'm on some four. I think my primary construction is 4-2 Baltimore with sprinkles of the Jacksonville passing game, because I feel like that's the way they'll get back in this game. Let's talk about running back. We have a fair amount of them because we know Baltimore's on the slate. And so, you're going to have Mr. Keaton Mitchell, like you talked about. We're going to have Gus Edwards. We're going to have Travis Etienne. We've seen Justice Hill just come in at the goal line and vulture touchdowns. He could be in play. What are your thoughts at the running back position? I do think Justice Hill is sneaky on the low end, TJ. Very low probability that he hits, but I still think he's sneaky enough in a mass multi-entry tournament if they bring him in the goal line and he vultures too.
So the only one I'm using and just kind of regularly is Keaton Mitchell, and Gus Edwards and Justice Hill I want to have a planned lineup for. So if I'm playing Justice Hill or Gus Edwards, I want to have the Ravens D somewhere on that team. And I'm maybe even looking to do something like double running back, because to me, that's the script that the Ravens get up heavy and then they just keep rotating all three backs. They keep feeding them Lamar doesn't score a super big score, so I have him at the flex instead of the captain. That's where I'm looking for Gus Edwards and Justice Hill. Keaton Mitchell, I love today. He's too cheap. He's been the guy who's getting the most touches for this offense, and so he's my number one guy there for sure. I think Gus Edwards to me is a very sneaky tournament play, like as is Justice Hill, and I would want to make sure that I have the Baltimore defense on that team, and maybe even 2 running backs, maybe Justin Tucker on that one as well. And I'm seeing it as a lower scoring, grinded out style game. I don't have any Tank Bigsby or Dearness Johnson today. I do have some Travis Etienne. I have him in one lineup, but I will be underweight on him as well. So I'm basically the only Baltimore players I won't be underweight on are Evan Ingram, Zay Jones, and Jamal Agnew. Everybody else I will be.
Okay. Sounds good. Let's move over to tight end. Tight end, TJ, in my opinion, could be a pivotal spot tonight, just because we've got, in my opinion, 2 guys that almost are going to operate like receivers tonight. Almost. It's really close, right? So, excuse me. You've got Likely, who with the absence of Andrews has stepped up, right? And he's kind of got a major role. And then you've got Evan Ingram, who without Christian Kirk is almost like their wide receiver 2, maybe even wide receiver 1 in some games in terms of target volume. So how are you feeling about those guys? Those are the big 2. I think they both need to be in consideration for what it's worth. How are you feeling about those guys?
Likely and Ingram, 2 of my top plays on the slate. I'm actually not getting to any other tight ends here, though. I'm not getting to Farrell. I'm not getting to any backups on Baltimore. It's just Likely and Evan Ingram for me. They are 2 of my favorite plays on the slate. Like, Likely I probably would rank behind OBJ and Zay Flowers on his same team. But I think from a raw points perspective, Evan Ingram is going to be my favorite pass catcher for Jacksonville today. From a point per dollar perspective, just slightly behind Zay Jones.
Okay. Sounds good. Steve, we've already got it up. Never mind. I'm looking at the screen right now. Let's go through some construction, Steve, if you will, and let's kind of talk the listeners through that. So at captain, TJ, we're going to go with Spice first. And let's go with Keaton Mitchell, because that's the guy that we talked about, that we want to plug in at the captain, someone that you consider to be, a way for us to kind of get different in tournaments and possibly win this thing. So it's going to be Keaton Mitchell at the captain. And then for me, I'm not building without Lamar Jackson. So Lamar Jackson is my first guy in the flex. Now, I do like Odell Beckham Jr. quite a bit today, but we're gonna hold off on that. I think we both agree with Zay Jones from Jacksonville. I think we both agree that Zay Jones is a guy that we want to get in. TJ, building from there, what's kind of your next step up? I feel like it's Evan Ingram, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. Where do you want to head from here?
Yeah, Evan Ingram is probably the next guy I would want to throw in here. But having said that, with Keaton Mitchell at captain, I would probably actually want to go with a Ravens defense on this team. I know you don't like a defense, but with Mitchell at captain, I do like me some Ravens D.
I'm actually, TJ, I'm really okay with this this season. Like it doesn't bother me one bit. Like I think, once again, I don't trust Jacksonville anyway. So getting the Ravens defense in there, I don't hate that. And really, TJ, when I look at it, that's if you're telling yourself a story, right? We're saying, okay, Keaton Mitchell continues to get rolling late in the game as Baltimore is in control of the game. As an example, you've got Lamar Jackson leading the charge. Maybe Lamar doesn't quite have a nuclear game, but Keaton Mitchell is close enough because he's so much cheaper. So maybe Keaton Mitchell rushes for 60 yards and has 2 touchdowns, catches 2 passes for 20 yards, something like that, right? And so with that type of performance, he's going to end up with 18, 20, 22 fantasy points, and Lamar finishes with like 23. You get what I'm saying? So it just balances out. Zay Jones has to get rolling late. Maybe he has 6 catches for 50 yards. He has 11, as an example, 11 fantasy points. And the Ravens defense, the Jacksonville Jaguars can't quite get rolling. Ravens have an interception. Ravens have 2 sacks. Ravens recover a fumble. Ravens holding a 10-point. Like, you know what I'm saying? And suddenly it kind of everything starts to come together. So I totally get that. Folks, if you're watching this one, I think this is a good, solid build. I'm going to add one more piece into this one, and that is going to be Evan Ingram, TJ, because I think both of those guys, to me, are where we want to head in terms of getting this thing built. Because I think if they've got to pass late, I feel like Ingram and Jones are some guys that could get there. Now, I will say this, TJ, on the sneak tip, okay? On the sneak tip, this is my sneaky, non-sneaky play of the day, if you will. Are you ready for this, TJ?
Yeah.
It's D'Ernest Johnson. I don't actually like him, but I think for this type of slate, TJ, where he's a little bit too expensive, the projection is awful. Like, if something weird happens, he could just end up doing some stupid stuff and just screwing it up for everybody. So he's very low end. The ownership on him is about 3%. That would be me just saying, hey, let's get up to maybe 6 to 8% on him, slightly over the field on an overpriced guy that's probably not going to get there. But if he does, we've got a shot at some tournaments. So that's my sneaky, way too expensive play, and we can go from there. And as Steve is clearing this thing out, TJ, any other lineup construction ideas or things that you've thought about for this particular slate?
Nothing overly different and sneaky. I find myself basically all the time going with a Raven at the captain, aside from one Zay Jones at captain team that I have. And they're almost all either 5-1 Raven builds or 4-1 or 4-2 Raven builds, sorry. And same story on FanDuel. Same thing where it's like my favorite. I like Lamar or one of his players at captain, but at MVP. But to be honest, I might, if I was on FanDuel, if I was running 150 lineups, I might just do 150 Lamar Jackson teams over there, where we don't have to worry about the salary constraints. I just have a hard time believing he's not the highest scorer on in this game, and so heavily prioritized there. And then I want 4-2 or 5-1 Ravens builds, prioritizing Zay Flowers, Odell Beckham Jr., Isaiah Likely, Rashad Bateman, Keaton Mitchell, and then on the Jaguars side of things, it's really just Evan Ingram, Jamal Agnew, and Zay Jones as my 3 guys there. We got a question in chat about Washington. What do you think about Washington for the Ravens, who has kind of stepped into Christian Kirk's route tree?
I don't hate that. I mean, a guy that went to Penn State came in. I think he had a nice performance, on the last slate that he was on. But once again, TJ, we also have to remember that that could be a one-hit wonder. I'm not saying it is, but he had 6 targets against Cincinnati, he had 3 targets against Cleveland, and I feel like we're going to get closer to the Cleveland performance than the Cincinnati performance. Baltimore's a good defense, and if they travel well today, they're going to be fine. But I don't hate Parker Washington. But TJ, I'm having a hard enough time as it is. I feel like I get to Parker Washington if I play Lamar captain lineups, maybe. You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel like I get there. So yeah, there you have it.
Yeah, that is what I'm doing as well. Eric Johnson asking about 7 different props and 6 different captains. But yeah, I'm not taking any props on Ridley overs or Etienne to score a touchdown. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. I don't feel confident about it to do any type of prop there. I got 1 Zay Jones captain, no Ridley, no Tucker. Just doesn't feel like that type of slate for me today.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you 100%. we shall see how this goes, TJ. We are almost at lock. I mean, I'm good. I don't think I have anything else that I want to add for the people. TJ, do you have anything else you would like to add for the people?
Not really. No, I'm double checking the live stream chat in Discord, but no, not many QQs today, and it's just a very straightforward slate. Like I know what I want to do. I want to load up on Baltimore, mix and match their pass catchers. I don't think the wind and the weather is going to hamper them as much as it does the Jaguars. I think the Jaguars are going to have a much tougher time with that wind than Baltimore will.
Okay, well. There you have it. Eric Johnson's asking, Chief, what's your favorite prop for tonight? I think if I had to choose one, I think it's Trevor Lawrence under passing yards at, I think, 232.5, but I'm not thrilled about it. Like, I just don't like this game. And so I'm really my approach for this game in terms of props is I'm going to wait and see what happens early in the game, TJ, and then maybe get involved in some second half. We've got Luis Nunn 12 saying Z Flowers. We absolutely like Zay Flowers in this spot. He's one of their main pass catchers. So I don't hate that at all. Flowers captain on DK, absolutely. We've seen typically receivers are always good captains. TJ, the main guy anyway, typically always good captains. So I don't hate that at all. Don't hate that at all. Hey, keep the questions coming, guys. We only leave early if there are no questions. So if you've got questions, please pile them on. I'm more than happy to continue to take those questions. More than happy to continue to take those questions.
Do you think a 2-quarterback lineup will be optimal from Anthony? I do not. I think I have one lineup that I think plays both of the quarterbacks, and it's with Trevor Lawrence at captain. But I'm playing Lamar Jackson in every lineup, and only one of them has 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah. Both kickers in the flex to be different. No, not in the win game. I mean, it'll be different. But yeah, not in a win game. Not for me. That's not something. That's not something I want to do. I'm not. I don't plan to do that.
King freaking Dash says whoever said to play Marshawn Beauchamp needs to be fired. Look, if in DFS, if we fired somebody every time they said to play somebody and it didn't work out, there would be nobody left doing any content for any site on the entire internet. So we're definitely not going to be doing that. But it wasn't me, so don't get mad at me.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Now, King, here's what we want. And we're not calling you out. We're not calling it. Here's what we want. When we give you something good, then come back and give us the same energy, right? Like, I'm in Chiefs prop shop. Now, listen, I'm not going to get it right every time either. And King, listen, like that's why I said we weren't like upset or anything like that. So King said,
"Yeah, not actually mad, just filling the last 6 minutes before lock, King."
Yeah, but I definitely, I don't like this game. I just really don't. I just really don't like this game overall. And so for me, I'm trying to find ways, TJ, to just be different enough to hopefully put us all in a position to be successful. And so that's where I am. I'm just hoping we've done enough to put us in a position to be successful. And if we've done that, I will feel fantastic at the end of the day. Just fantastic.
Which are you leaning here? Because this is something I'm having a tough time with, and I think it's very relevant. It's if you're only playing one of the two in your lineup, who do you like just for raw fantasy points straight up? Trevor Lawrence or Travis Etienne?
I'd have to say Lawrence just because he's got more outs to get it done.
I'm leaning ATN just a little bit because I feel like he could score an easy touchdown. I don't think they're going to score that many points, but also just this feels like a game where Travis Etienne could rack up like 6, maybe 7 check down passes, and just get a ton of points on a point per reception site like DraftKings. I'm going with ATN over Lawrence in most of my lineups, but I don't feel that great about it, if I'm being perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I get it. I totally get it. It's the one says it's each in a popular captain. I don't think he's popular. Let me check that. I don't want to lie to you. Sorry. Let me check that to confirm.
Etienne is currently not a popular captain and probably one of the better leverage captains on the slate. He's projecting at only 6% owned right now at the captain position. I'll pull open the sim tool right now to see what his expected optimal rate is at the captain position, but I'd have to imagine it's higher than 6% today. It is Travis Etienne is currently the second most optimal projected captain today in the sim tool at 11.74%. So if he's really only going to be like 6%, Etienne actually is one of the stronger captain plays on the slate.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't hate it. I'm not too far against anyone per se. I just, like I said, this game it's a yucky game, TJ.
I agree.
It really is. And we just have to try to find our edges. And I think we've got everybody in a pretty good position. Like you said, you like Keaton. I do like Odell Beckham capture for what it's worth, which we mentioned that. I like Zay Jones on the other side of this game. So hopefully everything goes the way we planned. And hopefully we got you guys at the top of the leaderboards. Ripping, sipping. Thank you guys for joining us. King Dash, thank you. What are your preferred settings on SimLabs? Great question. So for me, I like when I'm adjusting it for large field. So that's the thing. You got to know, where you are for large field. But you always want to do that. First of all, make sure that's set. Is it large field, single entry, whatever? And then I like to make sure that there's a setting for how much you want to weight projections, how much you want to weight.
Ron Moreno saying, "Hey Chief, Lock was at 5:15. Did you not get your lineup?
Lock was at Ron. Thank you.
Lock's at 20. It's not at 15 for NFL today.
Yeah,
we still got one more minute. It hasn't locked yet.
That's an inside joke from a couple years ago.
Oh, okay, I got you. My bad.
Years ago. But
yes to CHM boss. Yes, Agnew is playing.
Yeah. I like to adjust for projections weight a good bit. Just because that helps me just kind of see what some of the best lineups are looking like, because the Sim Labs is going to filter the best ones anyway. And so I just want to try to see if I can get the top of the top, the creme de la creme. And then for me, what I also do, TJ, is remember, I remove guys and I beef up guys. So I'll go into my into the exposure setting. I'll say, hey, I want this guy. Like these captains, you can start adjusting it. And I think it goes at 3% increments, 2 to 3% increments, and you can start adjusting it and then kind of getting those lineups. And that's what I like to do.
I like it. I think that makes sense to me too. The one thing I do maybe a little bit differently than most people, like I keep the results range in that low to medium, but in my advanced tab, I like to bump up the upside and the correlation weight a little bit higher than most. I always like to make sure my lineups are very well correlated. And if it's just not like that's the 2 spots for me at the bottom that I bump up significantly more than most people. I think I like to have those in probably like the 30 to 40 range, maybe even 40 to 50 range for correlation and upside.
Absolutely. Folks, thanks for joining us. Ron, Tammy, Rippin' Sippin', Diggs, Eric Johnson, CHM Boss, everybody that joined. For those of you that didn't participate in the chat, no problem. We just appreciate you hanging out with us. I'm Chief. That's TJ. Find us on Twitter. Find us in the RotoGrinders Discord. I'm in Chief's Prop Shop. TJ's all over the place. Also, Ages of Fandom. I didn't mention that in the show. Shame on me. Catch him also at Ages of Fandom. It's Sunday Night Football time. The game is kicking off. We will see you guys next week.